filmmakers, do you ever get nervous about submitting your project to a producer or to a financier? Well, I am both of those things, and I'm going to share with you a little email exchange I had today. So I get this cold email. I don't know who these people are. It's like a million cold emails I get every week. And the email says, presented here is a live action family/kids feature project entitled, and he gives the name. And then he gives me the log line. It says, a wonderful, nostalgic coming-of-age story about four young boys who are best friends who believe they found the clues to lost treasure, but instead find out what true love and friendship is all about. Along the way, they have conflicts with their own families, their past traumas, and their own hidden secrets. Then it has a couple of beats listed out. The title, genres, coming-of-age, adventure, logline. An intriguing mystery leads a group of young teenage boys to discover the true meaning of what's important in life and in themselves. They compare it to Stand By Me, The Goonies, Stranger Things, which, by the way, Stranger Things has been successful for a decade. It's about to wrap, and like everybody else in the industry, I'm so tired of seeing Stranger Things-esque projects pitched. He also says an option on the property had expired and the rights have reverted back to the writer-director, which I'm shopping on his behalf. Now that I've read you everything in the initial email, do you have any idea what this movie's about? Well, neither did I. So I opened the pitch deck. There was a 30-page pitch deck attached. The pitch deck is just not good. It's just not good, not worth my time. Emails, not worth my time. Pitch deck confirms it. Just immediate pass. Neither the email or the pitch deck really even rises to the standard of what I would consider professional. So this is just immediate pass. So I replied. I could have ignored the email, but I replied and I said, thanks for reaching out. Logline is too vague and I have no idea what the story is about. The pitch deck is pretty bad. I can't show that to a distributor or cast. It needs to be completely redesigned, which, by the way, that is the standard. Whatever you send me, I need to be able to forward it and have it represent me, right? Because that's essentially what you're asking me to do. I have to show it to people to make your thing. So I'm going to forward it to maybe an investor, maybe a name actor, maybe their rep, maybe a distributor to see what they think of the project. So what you're sending needs to be very good. And then I gave him some links to my courses and discounts and everything so they can just go see how this is actually supposed to be done. That's why I made these courses. It's because I don't want to teach film school every time I get an email, but I do want people to improve their pitches. Now, their script could be great, but I can't spend 2 to 3 hours every time I get an email to read your script and see if it is good, despite the fact that you can't write an email or make a pitch deck that presents it to me as something that's good. Stay tuned for part 2, where I'm going to talk about the email I was sent in response to my email that was not intended for me. Part 2 of how to screw up submitting your movie to a film producer or a financier. I'm both of those things, and somebody sent me a really lackluster submission, and we had a fun exchange over it. After I gave him my honest reply, again, I didn't have to reply, gave him an honest reply, and then gave him some resources to fix the issues, the glaring issues I saw in his submission. I get an email back, and it's from the writer-director. Now, the situation here seems to be that a rather green producer, didn't have a ton of credits on IMDb, was out submitting for a writer-director who has been in the business for a while. It looks like 30 plus years. The writer-director reads my response and then emails his producing partner back, except he emails me directly. He accidentally sends this email, which I'm assuming was not intended for me, and it says, nice way for him to make money. I'll rewrite the logline, but not the pitch deck. No one else has had an issue with it, and this is fired off from his phone. So I decided to reply, and I said, you accidentally sent this to me, ha ha ha. I make very little money off these courses, so there's not really enough there to be a profit motive. I give most of them away to film festivals as prizes and to filmmakers I'm working with, and I made them because they address a very real problem, my inbox. I get solicited, unsolicited pitches every day, and most of them aren't even close to being at a professional level. I found myself explaining the basics to people over and over again, so these videos are an easy way to do that without the time investment. Then I provided some more detailed feedback because clearly my initial vaguer feedback was not enough, so I decided to go into more detail, And I said, your logline isn't really a logline. You've just vaguely described the story beats with no specificity. What the hell is your movie about? This is such a basic failure that someone in the DGA and the WGA, as your IMDb page suggests, should simply know better. And here's that log line if you missed it in part one. The log line, I'll omit the title, but it's described as a wonderfully nostalgic coming of age story about four young boys who are best friends who believe that they found the clues to a lost treasure, but instead find out what true love and friendship is all about. Along the way, they have conflicts with their own families, their past trauma, and their own hidden secrets. What is that about? It is so vague. They're hunting for treasure, which is the trope of all tropes in this subgenre. So what are we doing? So I continued and I said, your pitch deck is really bad. It's in the bottom 20% of what I see in the industry. People will judge you by it. Everyone from distributors, agents, managers, financiers like me, they will assume you have no taste and that your script isn't worth reading, as I have decided. It's just not on par with the decks I see from major production companies and producers, and movies are getting financed right now off pitch decks alone, so this really matters. He made the comment that no one else has a problem with the decks, so I said I won't speculate as to who no one else is, but I can promise you that they are either being nice or they just don't know what the hell they're talking about. Your pitch deck is awful in basically every respect. The graphic design is truly terrible and worse than I would expect from a first year graphic design student to do. Anyone on Fiverr.com would do a better job for about $20. Images aren't even to spec. I see massive pixelation throughout the deck, such as in the screenshot from the second page, so whoever made this doesn't understand the most basic things about design. And here's what this image looks like. You see all that pixelation? Like, it looks really bad. You don't have to be a professional graphic designer to know that that image is not going to work. It's not high enough resolution. There's not enough information there. It's just pixelated noise. I also said your deck also seems to imply that this is a TV series, as in the screenshot below, which says it's a series and discusses episodes. Whereas, the producer who submitted this clearly states it's a feature in the opening email. He says, I have an action family kids feature project. So which is it? Is it a feature? Is it a TV series? Was any thought or effort at all put into this before you sent it to me? And I said these issues are just off the top of my head. Obvious to anyone making even a cursory review of your project, each submission is a request for someone to bet millions of dollars on your project. So do you honestly think you have done the project justice with the current materials submitted to me? And look, this could be the greatest screenplay of all time. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to read it because I have no idea what this project is about. The email is so lazy. The pitch deck looks awful. Like, why submit this stuff if it is not ready to go, right? So, this is just a fact. If you're asking somebody to invest millions of dollars in your screenplay, you need to do the very basic things. You have to be able to tell me what your project is about in a logline. The concept needs to be clear. This is somebody who's been in the industry for 30 something years. He has to have been around it enough, or have somebody that he can consult who will be honest with him and say, look, man, this is not ready to submit.